On imom.com, we share ideas, insight, and inspiration. We do all that here too by sharing the best kind of stories, mom stories. We're all at different ages and stages, but one thing we have in common is that we're striving, and sometimes struggling, to love our children well. It's the iMom Podcast. Welcome to this week's episode of the iMom Podcast. I'm Abby with Megan and Susan and Chloe, who is just on the brink of having a baby.
I'm struggling.
No.
I'm struggling to move around in my chair.
How's just barely popped.
How's breathing going, Chloe?
It's hard.
Breathing is strained, yes. All right, well, this is a topic that you're going to have to figure out real soon because it's how to adopt a parenting style. You must commit to an animal or heavy machinery as your parenting
or
style.
Color.
I'm just kidding. Yeah. Okay, so here's my story. My friend Colleen, we were hanging out one day and she's like, I got to ask you a question. You know, if you were me, what would you do? She said, my son, we were hanging out with other people and kids, and my son, something happened, like he got his feelings hurt. Some of the kids were being mean to him or something like that. And he came up to her and told her what was going on. He's 10 years old. And she kept telling her son, she's like, I understand how you feel, and I'm so sorry. That must have really hurt. I'm sorry that they did that. And she's like, but I was also thinking, you got to toughen up. You gotta get a spine and you gotta toughen up. She said, but in my mind, I didn't want to say that because I have all these thoughts about listen to how they're feeling and let them tell you what they're feeling and justify their feelings. And she's like, I've just gotten to the point where I don't know if I should listen to my gut or listen to psychologists and what research is saying is the right or best way to react or talk to your child. And so in this episode, I want to talk about how moms can know which parenting style, and I'm putting quotation marks around that, which one is right, whether they have to adopt a style at all, and then how to not take that style to the extreme. So there are, in general, 4 parenting types. One of them is neglectful parents, which that one isn't really going to play into this conversation.
My
style. Right? I mean, sadly, that might be the one that I'm closest aligned to. But
no,
neglectful,
you're not either
I'm
of you.
I'm not. Neglectful parents are uninterested in their children and unwilling to be an active part of their child's life. Authoritarian parents are the authority. They set the rules. They say jump. The child says how high. Authoritative, so authoritarian versus authoritative. Authoritative are highly demanding while being highly responsive. And then the fourth one is permissive. And they are lax about their expectations. They don't set standards and don't ask much of their children. So those are the 4 that big time psychology kind of agrees on. Under those 4 are all the animals and all the machines.
Where's the unicorn parent? Did you talk about
unicorn? No, that's the unicorn
friend.
friend.
That's what I'm saying.
Animal.
A unicorn parent in the middle, doing a little beach.
Yeah.
So here's a pop quiz. Which of these animals is not also a name for a parenting style? A jellyfish, a tiger, a dolphin, an elephant, or a hummingbird? Which one of those is not a parenting style?
Well, there's a tiger mom, but I have not heard of the jellyfish.
Mom makes sense to me.
Yeah, I get it. What about elephant mom?
Jellyfish, tiger, dolphin, elephant, hummingbird. Megan, what's your guess?
Elephant?
I'm going with elephant.
You guys think elephant? And Chloe, you say?
I'll say elephant too.
It was a trick question. They are all parenting styles.
Brother.
All
Hummingbird, I could get. They twitter around a lot. Dolphin is probably a really good mom.
Dolphin. I'm attracted to the dolphin. What's the dolphin mom?
Right? Isn't it they got to pick a good animal?
Yeah, it's a sweet animal.
Yeah, you're not going to do a possum mom. No one wants to be a possum mom. What is that? Right?
Plays in trash.
Yuck.
Only goes out at night.
Hisses.
Okay, so let's see. Jellyfish. A jellyfish is a permissive parent. So you kind of imagine jellyfish. They go wherever the wave takes them.
Yeah, true.
They have few rules, few demands, few consequences. These kind of parents often result in kids who rank low in happiness and self-regulation.
Oh, so now we've done studies on the kids from these parents.
Yes.
Oh, Lord.
Ish. Dolphins are supportive.
Yeah.
They jump through hoops. I just added that. Wouldn't that be good though? Yeah.
And they have a great laugh. And they smile all the time.
Have a good laugh. They try to find the right balance. They support their child with education and other choices. However, they don't put pressure or punish too harshly. They aim to build a good bond so their child feels they can make mistakes.
And they do tricks.
And they respond to fish very well. No, I'm just kidding. All right, the elephant, the one you guys all thought was a fake. Elephant are the nurturing parents, so they're encouraging. They are known to be a little bit softer. They emphasize emotional protection as well as encouragement. And then the hummingbird is kind of like a helicopter parent, but sort of like a silent helicopter parent. They hover, but they don't interfere as much. They're present, but they try not to make decisions for their kids or prevent their failures. So not bad. They're a balance of like support and independence.
So you just don't want to be a jellyfish. That's the only one that would sound terrible.
Yeah, you don't want to be a jellyfish. But elephants also, some people can take elephant a little too far, like a little too permissive, a little too soft, a little too just tied in with emotions and not really following
Where's like
through.
Mama Bear and all those people in there?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's either an animal or heavy machinery, like a helicopter. Have you heard of these? Free range,
Yes.
gentle,
Yes.
helicopter,
Yes.
wabi sabi.
What? No, spicy.
What is that?
It's a real thing. Wabi sabi is, or I think I would say it might be wabi sabi. I don't know. It is finding beauty within the imperfections of life. So
What does that got
comes
to do
from
with
Japan. It comes from a
wasabi?
Japanese. It's not wasabi. It's wabi. WABI space sabi. SABI or wabi sabi. I don't know. I'm assuming wabi sabi.
Okay, I can't live up to that one.
Wabi sabi. It's finding beauty with the imperfections of life. So it is like adopting a little bit more relaxed attitude about, there's crayons everywhere around the house. That's okay. This is life. This is how life is
As long as
right
they're
now.
not on the wall.
Yeah. I mean, right now in life, it's a little bit messy because this is the stage we're in. It's kind of adopting that attitude. Of course, then there's lawnmower, snowplow, whatever type of lawn work you have to do. There is a parenting style for it. So, Megan, which one are you?
I have no idea. I kind of got lost.
That's what I'm saying.
I knew. Okay, wait. I knew what I was out of the first four. I was either authoritarian or authoritative.
Well, I don't think you're not authoritarian. You don't say jump and they say how high, right? You're authoritative.
I'm pretty stern.
Oh, he's only
But
4.
probably.
You're highly demanding while being highly responsive. Is that the one you connected with?
Probably, yes. I think that's the one I was out of those first 4. Out of all the animals, I have no idea.
Well, like that was kind of why I just went through those real fast because as I was researching for this, I was going cross-eyed. I'm like, what in the world?
And why?
Yeah.
And why?
That's my question. Why?
And
I guess
why?
maybe I
If
didn't
someone
have all
looked at me
these
and they're like, "What kind of parenting animal are you?" I'd be like, "Not one that's going to hang out with you."
We are not going to get along.
Does tiger attack elephant? I mean,
Right.
at some point.
So true.
I think they do.
This is like the whole astrology thing when people are like, "What sign are you?" And I'm like, "I don't know. And
I
I
don't
care."
know.
The moon is in the waxing recessive whatever. I'm like, excuse me, what?
I can't.
As I was reading through all these though, I was like, why do we need these labels? Is it because I do think it's partially because when you label it, when you give it a name, it's easier to package and like market or sell to moms. Like,
Yes.
and I mean, on Instagram, on TikTok, on all these places, we like just want these little bursts of information that give us a tiny tidbit of wisdom that then they make money off of us because we're clicking on it and we're following these accounts and stuff like that. Like,
Well, but when you think about
Or
like
is it because we can't accept people's differences because we're just different, and so we have to put a label on it to make it palatable?
maybe.
Well, originally, personality types were created and they help us understand personalities better and understand ourselves. So you do gain some knowledge of, oh, yeah, I have that tendency to do that or that. But today I feel like we use them as a way to be in a camp or judge or have a crowd that's our crowd. And you almost become more like it instead of, oh, I'm a this kind of mom, but I could be a little more like that. It would be helpful. Or don't I appreciate that my friend is not like me because we'd both be killing each other.
Right.
You know, like the tiger and the elephant. Are they going to fight? And so I do think we've taken it to the extreme.
Yeah.
So it's not positive and encouraging. It's negative and judgmental.
I think it puts us in a box a little bit too.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, kind of like the story you shared where your friend's like, I've done this, but I kind of want to step outside of this a little bit because I think that the situation's calling for it. And maybe you fear, she's afraid that if she does that, she'll completely go into a different box.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that you just said fear and being afraid. I think that these are built on fear. We're so afraid of messing up and the consequences that come with messing up as parents that we're obsessed with figuring out the right way, especially when it's new. And we're like, oh, well, this is the one. This is the one that's going to keep us from making the same mistakes our parents made or whatever.
Yeah. Do you think that's like a this generation parent thing? Like we're so intentional. We have so much information that we like are paralyzed by our fear.
I think there is over information. Yes, I think we have more information than we need.
And I think what we're doing is drowning out our gut. You know your child. You know the situation. Parent in the moment for you and forget all these. Am I being a tiger mom or am I being this?
Yeah.
Okay, son, you did that wrong. It's clearly wrong. Let's deal with it and not go, oh, am I not encouraging him or I'm not that or not? Just what is it? Be practical.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
See, I think that we want to do better than the generation before, and we've talked about that in another episode. And I'm trying to think of what year it was that like what generation it was that really embraced the whole like positive self-esteem. Like tell your kids they can do anything they set their mind to. Like whatever you want to do, you can be it, you can do it. And now there's all this backlash against that attitude because those kids are like, oh, I can't be a rocket scientist. Well, no, you don't like math. Like, I mean, it's just not going to work out for you.
Some things work for some kids and don't work for the other. Yeah. Like even in the same family, like you can do gentle parenting with one kid and the other kid needs to be taken to the car and like given a spanking or something.
Right.
Or isolated for the health of the restaurant.
Gentle parenting is definitely one of the big ones right now that people are debating because at its core, so like if you're not familiar with what gentle parenting is, it centers on acknowledging your child's feelings and the motivations behind their behavior as opposed to correcting the behavior itself. And it recognizes the developmental stage that your child is in. So like my older son is my height now. I mean, he's 11 years old and he's like 5'4". He's always been big for his age. And so my husband, who is his stepdad, for many years when Liam was little, he had to remind himself he's not 6, he's 4, or he's not 4, he's 2, and I can't expect this child to do something. So that's kind of like the thought behind gentle parenting is how old is your child? What stage are they at developmentally? And what are you expecting them to do? And then you kind of allow them to be where they are. So like, son, you need to put your shoes on. And he's playing. And so instead of saying, you better get out here right now and put your shoes on, which would be the authoritarian parenting, you think, what is he doing right now? And why does he not want to put his shoes on and go to the grocery store with me? It's like understanding this is a child who is playing and wants to keep playing.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, a lot of moms are saying that it's mentally exhausting to do this.
Well, yeah, and I think
tend
that
to
puts
agree.
a terrible burden on the moms with 5 kids like me.
Yeah.
I couldn't run around thinking like, oh, and where are you right now in this moment? There's 5 of you. We got to get in the car and go to school.
Yeah.
Put your shoes on. There's a responsibility, too, in understanding that you're going to make your sister late for school, and so you've got to get it together, guy.
Right.
And you don't want to put them on here, then you can walk out to the car barefoot and tie them in the car. But in any way, get in the car.
Well, yeah, and at some
Bring your
point,
shoes with you.
as much as you want to know where your child is developmentally and what they're feeling, there's also the responsibility to teach your child, you need to listen to mom and dad.
Yeah.
Like, we're in charge, and sometimes not everybody's going to care about your feelings.
Yes.
And be
That's the
considerate of
thing,
other
yeah.
people. You have to be considerate of other
Yeah, because
people.
when they go off to school and, the teacher's got 30 kids in their classroom, they're not going to be like,
Well, when we were in agrarian society and they had to get up and do chores at the age of 5 versus we're babying you because you don't feel like putting on your shoes right now. Again, I think there has been a dumbing down of what a child is actually capable of doing if they're taught responsibility.
Yeah. Well, they say with gentle parenting that your child will be considerate of others because he's being considered. Like really in a perfect world.
I don't think
it
you should
all-
be rude or, you know, you don't want to be the yelling parent.
There's something about gentle parenting that really appeals to me. And I follow a couple accounts on Instagram and try to take away little tidbits of things from that because I am pushing back against my tendency to yell. So it's like when you know you have some fault within you or something that you just don't want to, a way that you don't want to parent, I think it's easy to gravitate toward the style that might help you.
Well, that goes back to learning from the personality styles. It helps us learn instead of, but you're using that for you to help you, instead of judging somebody else like, oh, they need to be in the gentle camp. You know,
Yeah,
like
good
me.
point. Yeah, good point.
Sometimes I feel like in my generation, we kind of feel like we have to be friends more than a parent, or, you know, or I don't know, or we feel like we're going to be judged because if we're like too strict, or I don't know what it is, but I feel like it's definitely our generation, and I would say is definitely different. And I don't, like you said, it could be access to information. I don't know what it might be, but I feel like we look at ourselves as more of like a peer of our child, not a peer versus the actual parent, the authoritarian.
No, I see what you're saying. Like, we value being liked by our kids. Yeah.
I think that something you said just kind of triggered a thought in my head that I feel like even if we're not recording ourselves or putting things out there, I think that there's just this constant awareness that we're being watched, you know, like it's really hard to not feel like our parenting is on display and being judged. I think it's because we judge so much, like you were saying a minute ago. We are so judgmental of the way that other people parent that it's just like, it almost feels like we are all performing our parenting.
Oh,
Yes.
that's interesting.
Well, yes, you're so right, because it is true. I mean, like, you'll see a TikTok of someone like, oh, I was in Walmart and I saw this woman doing this to her child. Like, you'd never know how it's going to be shared, and oftentimes it's without your consent. But yeah, and like you said, even when you're in your own home, it's this awareness of like, I don't know.
Or you're
everything's
in
complex.
Walmart and you're walking the aisle and your kid's having a tantrum, and you're like, other people are going to hear the way that I respond to my child. Even if they're not filming it or going to post anything about it, other people are going to listen to me and judge me. And so I need to say the right thing, you know? Like, I don't know what it is, why, and maybe I'm just speaking for myself. I don't know if it resonates with other moms listening, but like, I want to come across as a good mom and that I'm doing it right, even if I'm never going to see that person again, even I don't even know if anyone else is listening. You know, it's odd.
Do you think we just say too much? Because sometimes I think with kids, it's better just to do something. Like if your kid's having a meltdown or something, you literally just pick them up and you take them and you go sit in the car until they stop. You know? I think sometimes words are too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk our kids into. If your child has skipped a nap, if they're 4 and they haven't had a nap in 3 days and you kept them up too late, they're going to melt down, and nothing you say, whether it's gentle or authoritative, is going to help. So, but yeah, you're right. I think there is more, since there is social media, this feeling that people are watching. And I didn't have that. I'm so glad I parented when I do. You poor girls.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Well, and the other thing too is that not every mom can be every parenting style.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a single mom that works 2 jobs, you're not going to be a tiger mom because you can't drive your kids to multiple activities
Yes.
or stand over their shoulder as they're doing homework.
Not only that, it doesn't work with every child. So if you have multiple children and they're totally different, like your boys are totally different, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point.
So what do we do? How do we help a mom who's listening who's like, but I see all these accounts on Instagram, everything floats by, and I want to take away all these little tidbits of information. How do we help her listen to her gut and focus more on just the way that she feels she's led to parent this particular child?
Look at history. This did not happen decades ago. You know, moms, look, there were wars, there were, you know, agrarian societies. There was nobody had any of this information, and most people were okay. If you're not abusive, if you love them, if you try to have a relationship, you know, we all make mistakes. I have terrible parenting moments, but my kids today love me. It was okay.
But what about but there's also like people who are like, I wasn't allowed to talk about my feelings.
Are
like,
you okay?
well, I'm not saying me, but like, it's become more acceptable today for people to talk about how they feel. Whereas like our grandparents
didn't. So we make an adjustment.
Yeah.
Adjust how you were raised, make an adjustment. It's like a coach after a game would make an adjustment. Like, okay, that game didn't go down. We're going to make an adjustment. But it doesn't mean we put so much pressure and we overthink it. Because at the bottom line, if you love your children, if they see that you love them, if you try to help them learn through life, you're parenting them to release them. You get 18 years. That's it, pretty much. And really, it's like 16, if I have to be honest. Now, if you don't do it right and they keep coming back to you because they can't launch, then you're going to have 25. But at some point, you're mostly modeling, and you're modeling relationships. You're modeling good work ethic. You're modeling, and I just feel like if we're practical about it, yes. Learning, observing, talking to other people, you can glean different things and tweak your game. But I think we're putting way too much pressure on ourselves. I think most of the moms love their children, want to be the best they can be. And God gives you the children you need, and you need each other, and you're going to learn from each other. And hopefully at the end of the day, you're going to have a life relationship.
So don't worry about being a jellyfish, a
Yeah.
dolphin, an elephant, a hummingbird. Pick your own animal and be
true.
that animal.
Yeah.
A poodle. I'm going to be a poodle
Look
mom.
at the moms.
I don't
If
even know
you've
what that
not
is.
seen moms who gosh, a poodle. What's a poodle?
She has good hair.
She's good,
Yeah, she
right?
does.
And it's always good.
That's my goal.
Yeah,
That's my mom
so
goal.
true.
All right. So tell us in the show notes what kind of mom, what type of parenting style you most closely relate to, and which ones are appealing to you, and why. We're really curious to know that. And be sure to subscribe to the iMom Minute. You can get great reminders every day, and this is not going to contribute to your overload of parenting wisdom. This will just remind you that you are cut out to be the right mom for your kids. So subscribe to the iMom Minute. We'll put a link right there in the show notes too. And thank you for listening. Thanks for listening to the iMom podcast. iMom is the motherhood program of the nonprofit organization Family First. Along with our fatherhood program, All Pro Dad, we exist to help you love your family well. Subscribe to our daily email, the iMom Minute, by going to imom.com/subscribe and get tons of great ideas, insight, and inspiration. The iMom podcast is hosted by me, Abby Watts, along with Susan Merrill, Megan Tigner, and Chloe Blumenthal.